Hi, I'm John Merriman with Inside Joke, talking to Jim Norton. How are you today?
Very good, thanks.
Thanks for coming by.
Oh, it's a delight.
Have you been to Austin before?
I have, yeah. I did Cap City in January of 2011.
Oh, that's right.
It was great.
Yeah. Are you based in New York these
Yeah,
days?
I am.
Okay. And you're closing out the festival tonight.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until you said it on the elevator, which is really good because you always want to close out. It's nice to have the additional pressure. Not only a midnight show where they've all been power drinking since noon, but now I'm the last one.
You can handle that, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fun.
You are known, of course, for being very outspoken, very unafraid, fearless. Do you just see yourself as a comic? Is that something you strive to do to kind of...
No, it's
You're
honestly, being a comic. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like you got to be who you are, whatever makes you funny. Like, any comic that thinks he's like, any comic that will, like, in a promo, look in a camera and go, I'm telling it like it is, probably stinks as a comic.
Right.
It's like you just do whatever makes you who you are.
And you got maybe one of your big breaks. Am I right about this? Opening for Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah, Dice took great care of me. I toured with him for like 3 years. And that taught me, like, the crowds, no matter what animals they are.
Yeah.
I mean, he taught me how to survive those audiences because I never bombed in front of them. I had a couple of times where I almost bombed in front of them, but I was always able to pull it out and make a decent set out of it. So, that was like really great training in the trenches for aggressive, large crowds.
How did you guys how did he find you, or how did you guys know each other?
We were friends first. I met him at the
Okay.
Comedy Store, and me and Jim Florentine actually met him. I was out there doing the Louis Anderson show, and Dice went on at the Comedy Store, and I was a huge fan.
Yeah.
And at the store, like, one comic will bring the other comic on. Like, who's next? And the piano player tells you who's next.
Right.
And nobody wanted to go on after Dice because he was doing an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll go on. I would love to if I knew I was going to die. And
Yeah.
he brought me on. He gave me a shitty, horrible intro. Who are you? Who are you? You know, it was really humiliating. And I did 7 clean minutes and had an absolute 0. I died. But me and Jim Florentine talked to him after a while, and he loved us. And we went shopping with him the next day for furniture, and we just became friends. He took me on the road.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was weird.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's got to be crazy. Just you went from doing clubs to arenas, basically.
Yeah,
overnight.
I wasn't with him in the arena tour. I was with him in larger theaters. So we were doing
Okay.
4,000 seats,
Yeah.
but it was still a lot bigger than I was used to. And it was still before I was even headlining. I was a middle act on the road doing like 300 people in in Ennsville, Connecticut. And then all of a sudden I'm doing 4,000 people who are not there to see me at all.
Right.
And he introduced me to Opie and Anthony, and so it goes.
And how do you deal with that when there's people that you know-
Aggressively.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be brutal. That was the good thing about Dice crowds is no response to a heckle was too horrible.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? There was no such thing as too mean or too aggressive. Sometimes you get heckled. If I'm in the Comedy Cellar and somebody heckles me, and like the audience can't see the face of a heckler, so
Right.
you know what their intention is when they do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? The crowd doesn't see it, but they don't see this. That fucking look that just makes you want to kill them, and you can't physically assault them, so you say something harsh, like really brutal
Right.
and deconstructing and not even funny half the time, and the crowd's like, oh. But with a Dice crowd, there's really no such thing as too harsh a response.
So I read that you started out, you were a forklift operator. Is that right?
Yeah, in the late '80s and up to like 1992. I started comedy in 1990, but I didn't get paid. I mean, I wasn't like I lived with my parents.
Uh-huh.
And then in '92, I got fired.
Okay.
First time fired. I was 5 years sober, 2 years into stand-up, and I got fired from my day job. I was, doing warehousing and forklift stuff. So then I just collected unemployment and did gigs. But yeah, I did all kinds of menial, awful, shitty forklift jobs and
Right,
warehouse work. It sucked.
Were you doing stand-up at all during that point, or?
Yeah, for 2 years. In 1990, I started it, and I would go on like once a month, and I'd be scared. And I used
Yeah.
to root for shows to get canceled.
Right.
Because I figured I got the credit in my own mind for showing up.
Right.
But it was too scary to go on and perform. But yeah, so I had those little horrible gigs. So I'm really empathetic to people who are still working, because it's like I don't know how anybody gets up and does that for 30 years. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
just a torture.
And when you first started, you mentioned you did some clean stuff, opening up for Dice the first time. When did you kind of turn that corner from, I'm trying to please the crowd and kind of keep my personal stuff to myself? or-
Well, I was dirty when I opened for Dice. I was clean in the beginning because these horrible people in the business.
Yeah.
These dummies. They say you gotta be likable. Make sure you're likable. Ugh. Eric Idle had a great quote about being likable. He said something about, I don't need comedians to be likable, I need them to be funny.
Yeah.
And to me, I like people who make me laugh. I like
Yeah.
people who are funny. But this obsession with likability and this obsession on the West Coast, especially with tell a story in your 7 minutes, just so the dumb business can see you. Like, oh, I see, you're the limo driver who has a thing for yellow hats. Oh, we could do a show. You're the guy who says, what the hey? The guys that will keep doing this little shitty tag phrase in the thing. What the hey? Oh, that's the name of your show. So I was trying to be likable and clean and friendly, and I got rid of that a couple of years in. There was a couple of years I didn't curse on stage at all. I made myself.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good skill to have, because it's like everyone. I don't care how rebellious you think you are.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do the Tonight Show or Letterman or Conan or whatever show you want to do.
Sure.
And you can't be filthy on those shows.
Right.
You can't be dirty. So I think as a comic, it's helpful to be able to work clean when you need to, because there are times when you have to not curse. I mean, it's just a reality.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you were wonderful on Lucky Louie. You've written a book. You have a radio show.
Thank you.
You're touring. Is there anything you want to do that you haven't tackled yet?
I want to get my own show on the air. That'd be nice.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? It's great that I've managed to parasite onto Louis C.K. and Opie and Anthony and Dice. I really am a great. The thing is, I have a great grip. That's my strongest comedy trait. Is I really know how to hold on to people and then drag them down with me.
What would your show look like?
I don't. I want to do something on sexual addiction. Something that really has it, because I hate the way TV covers sexual addiction, because they make, like, Californication's a good show, but it's like, come on, Duchovny's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
He's banging hot girls.
Right.
Ooh, that's really, treat that sickness. So I would like to do something a little bit more unpleasant
Something
about
for
that.
ABC Family or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's all. I'd love to do it for ABC Family. Yeah, and just make them air it. Was I too dirty during this interview?
No, not at all.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no. You could be dirtier.
Okay, I apologize.
No, not at all, please. Thanks so much for coming by.
Oh,
man.
thank you.
This was great.